Good morning. This session we are going to see about data center infrastructure. First we'll see what is data center. Whenever the organizations are ready to provide the centralized data processing capabilities across the enterprise, then it needs the data center. What this data center will do? This will manage the large amounts of data and it will give you the better infrastructure which includes the hardware component, software components as well as the environmental control. So what maybe comes under the hardware component? We'll have some examples: the computer and storage device, a network device, power backup, all these are comes under the hardware components. For software component, you can take any operating system or application or any management software. It may comes under the software component. And overall environmental control, okay, that means by providing the air condition and if any suddenly fire occurs, means fire suppression control and ventilation, all these things will comes under the environmental control part. Okay, all these things must be included in a better data center. And the large organizations can also be maintained more than one data center, which can be used to distribute the data processing workloads. That means if you have large amounts of data, okay, and the processing capability should also be increased. Okay, so in that case only one data center is not enough. So for that kind of organizations, okay, so it is maintaining more than one data center also for distributing the workloads, as well as it has to provide the proper backup. Okay, whenever the disaster occurs, whenever the failure occurs, okay, it needs to provide the proper backup. Okay, so it's not necessary to maintain only one data center in a particular organization. Okay, that depends on the organization need, if it is large organization or medium organization or small organization. Based on this, the number of data centers will be differ. Okay, and we'll see the core elements of the data center. The core elements are nothing but the applications, databases, server or operating system, networks and storage array. We'll see one by one what is application. You can take any computer program, okay, which provides the logic for computing the operation. And the database is nothing but it's a storage. Okay, so you can able to store the data in form of rows and columns, that is in a structured way. Okay, so it provides a structured way storage of the data in a logically organized table format. Okay, and the very important thing in your database, okay, it must be the interrelated data. Okay, and the next one is you can take the server or operating system. Okay, so the server is the central processing unit. Okay, so which can able to process all kinds of requests. Okay, and you can consider the one more component also here, the host, or you can say it's a compute. So it's a computing platform, okay, which includes your hardware or firmware or software, which can runs your all applications and all kinds of databases. Okay, so that can also be the core element of your data center. And the network part, it is very important for the communication purpose. Okay, so a data path which can facilitates the communication among various network devices. It may be the LAN or SAN, that means local area network or storage area networking. Okay, so better way we have to communicate the host to the server. And the last one is storage arrays. Okay, so the device which can stores the data persistently for subsequent use. Okay, so it can contain any number of disks. Okay, so based on the demand, again based on the size of the data, you can able to increase the number of disks in your storage array. It is also more than one available in a particular data center. It's not necessary for one data center only one storage array is there. You can also maintain n number of storage arrays, that is based on the size of the data. And we'll see the example of a data center infrastructure. And you can take an order processing system. Okay, it's a simple example of an online order processing system. Here you can see all the components of your data center. Okay, first the application for order entry, that means the client side. Okay, that means we need an API, okay, application programming interface. So the client side, okay, so the application user, what is that, he is going to place an order entry is there, and this order has to be stored in a proper way, so that we need the DBMS. Okay, for connecting your server and your client, we need a network that may be your local area network. Okay, so in the server side you can see operating system as well as your database management system. Okay, so the DBMS is just for storing your customer and the product information, and the server or OS, okay, here only in which the application and the database programs can be run, exactly where the execution takes place. Okay, so that is what your server part. Okay, and the network, okay, so I already told you this network is mainly used for the connectivity. So it will provide the connectivity in between your client and the application database server. Okay, and here one more network is there, that is SAN. Okay, this is also provides the connectivity in between the server and the storage array. Okay, that can be done through the storage area network. Okay, finally the destination is nothing but your storage array, where the data is exactly stored on your physical disks. Okay, so it may be arranged in a proper way. That means each and every disk can be numbered. Okay, so which data has been stored in which disk. Okay, so that has to be properly identified. Okay, after receiving your read or write request from the host, and it will be activated. And we'll see the closer look of this example. First, a customer order is entered via the application user interface on a client side. Next, the client accesses the server over the LAN. That is your second component. And the third one is your server part. Okay, so in which we have the OS as well as the DBMS. So this DBMS uses the operating system on the server side to read as well as for the write the data into the physical location on the disk. The dedicated storage area network, which can be provides the communication link. That means I already told you here in this example, the SAN is used to create the communication in between your server and the storage array. Okay, that's what here they exactly mention the connectivity part with SAN in between the server and the storage area. Okay, and the transportation can also be happen. Okay, so any read or write commands are coming. Okay, and the data between your server and the storage array, all these things will be takes place by the storage area network. And finally, the storage array receives the read and write commands and the data from the server, as well as it performs necessary operations to store the data on the physical disk. Okay, so in which order the data has been come. Okay, and it has to be stored in a proper disks. Okay, and it has to be mentioned the disk number also by using your LUN concept. We'll see about the LUN later, that is logical unit numbering concept. Okay, based on that you can able to access the information later. Okay, first it will see whether it receives the read request or write request. Based on this it will do the performance. And the next one is characteristics. Okay, so we have seen the components, what are the components exist in our data center, and the next topic is nothing but what are the important characteristics for a good data center. Okay, this is what the diagram for it. Okay, you have 6 to 7 characteristics are there: data integrity, availability, security, performance, scalability, capacity, and overall all these things has to be managed properly. Okay, that can be denoted as manageability. First we'll see the availability. What is availability? Whenever I am trying to access the information from the data center, it should be ready to provide. That is what availability. Okay, that means all the data center elements should be designed to ensure the accessibility. Okay, so if I am trying to read something or if I am trying to write something on the data center, it should be ready to accept. That means easy accessibility. Okay, that is what your availability. Security means you have to provide the authorized access to your data center. If any unauthorized persons are trying to access your information, it should not allow you. Okay, so that is what mainly the data center provides security in a way in which you can prevent the unauthorized access to the information which is stored in your data center. And the next one is scalability. It's a very important characteristics. That means whenever the demand increase, okay, whenever the demand increase, you can able to increase the resources also in your data center. That means it should be able to allocate additional processing capabilities or storage on the demand, okay. So, but it should not disturb or it should not interrupt any of your business operations, okay. Whenever the demand increases, it should ready to provide the increased number of resources. That is what the good scalability. And the next characteristics is performance. The data center should be able to provide the optimal performance, okay. That means all the services, okay, all should be done in a proper time, okay. It should not take more time to respond also. If I'm sending some read request, okay, so if it is processing, okay, for a long time, it's not a good what is that, data center like that, okay. So we need to do all the processing at a particular time interval, okay. So it should not exceed the time limit, okay. So that's what all requests has to be processed in a high speed. And integrity, that is very important one, okay. Whether we are receiving the actual content or not, that is what integrity, okay. So the consistency should not be lost at any cost, okay. So that means here the error correction codes or parity bits you can able to use, okay, which can ensure the data which is returned to disk which is exactly as it was received. And the capacity, again, the data center operations which requires the adequate resources to store and process the large amounts of data. That means it should be capable, okay. So whenever the data is coming, it should be ready to store it, okay. So that kind of capacity, we have to check the capacity whether the data center is have the sufficient capacity to store as well as process the large amounts of data, okay. So it has to be done frequently, okay. And the manageability, so the data center should perform all the operations and activities, okay, in the most efficient manner, okay, and it has to be managed properly without the human intervention and all, okay. So that means manageability is very important. So you have to monitor all the characteristics, and if any problem occurs, you need to take an immediate action, okay. So all these things will comes under this manageability. And some of the key management activities are proper monitoring, reporting, and provisioning. What do you mean by monitoring of data center? Okay, so whether all the components are working properly, okay. So it is a simple continuous processing of gathering information on various elements and services which are running in your data center, okay. And what is reporting? Okay, suppose if any problem occurs, we have to report it immediately, okay. That means action to be taken properly, okay. So then only we can able to manage all the resources, okay. If the resources needed, then you have to go for an order, that means resource purchase, okay. And if the backup is required immediately, then we need to take it, okay. So proper reporting is very important. It has to be done periodically, okay. So this reporting will helps to establish the business justification and the chargeback of cost which are associated with your data center operations. And the last one is provisioning. It's a process of providing your hardware, software, and other resources which are required to run your data center, okay. So that means overall you have to provide the proper resources to run your data center in an efficient way. So here this provisioning activities which can be include your resource managements to meet the capacity as well as availability, performance, and security requirements. That's all. This is what about your data center information. Thank you.